Phoenix, are you here?
Present.
Present. Spoonie, Timothy Spoonie.
Present, sir.
Margaret and Mary. Do we have a Margaret and Mary?
Yes.
Cool.
And the margaritas.
All right. Class here. We're ready. Let's go.
Yes, let's go.
Okay.
This is the time to line up behind your team, to support your team, have faith in that team.
It's peaks and valleys. It can't always be good. And as I always tell people, you're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as you think you are. But when we do know about
house call, Trevon Diggs, pick six. It's coming. They see it. Knocked away. Oh, Gregory. Hurts in trouble. 3 Cowboys wrap him up, make it 4. Micah Parsons is unblockable.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday, a little past 8:30 p.m. Central. You know what it is. You're now tuned into the Pick Six live broadcast coming through. And for the first time in a long time, we've all assembled. Yay. All 4 is on the panel. The Avengers of Pick Six are back in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope everybody is having a fantastic Wednesday. We got some things that are popping, maybe doing some due diligence on some roster building and adding to this roster. But before we get into that, y'all know the drill, man. As you're coming in, by all means, go ahead, give it a like. As you give it a like, go ahead and share it. Tell the next person around the way. Mary, we talked to you last week. We still see it, Stargate Beauty in the building.
Yeah, I'm still, it has to feel right. It has to feel right. I have
it
to,
ain't hit you yet.
It ain't hit me yet. I was thinking about it, but it ain't hit me yet. So.
Fair enough. How's your week going so far?
Busy, man. I'm not homeless anymore. I literally just got my internet connected 3 hours ago, so I barely made it.
Wow.
But I'm here.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, that definitely, breaking news. Mary has her own crib, ladies and gentlemen. With that being said, Spoonie, back looking refreshed from the Dominican Republic, sir. How are we doing?
Oh, great to be back with you guys. Great to talk about Cowboy football. Had a great time. Met a couple of Cowboys fans back in DR, which was cool and everything. Little small conversation, but had a great time. Great to be back.
That's what's up, man. Welcome back. And Professor O, you might have a little care package delivered to you that you might be enjoying this Wednesday.
I do. Yes, I'm so excited. So there's a brewery called Hop and Sting. They are a local brewery based out of Grapevine, Texas. They sent me a care package. I hit them up saying, hey, I live in Atlanta. I saw that you did a collab with Duke Manyweather called Masterminds IPA. I'm an IPA fan. I like to drink them on my show. How do I get a hold of them in Atlanta? And they said, well, we can't sell them to you, but we got you. Don't worry. Give us your address.
Nice.
So Saturday rolls around and I have a box at my door full of beer from them. So I've been waiting until today. Like, I just cracked one of them open early. It's the Aluminum Cowboy.
Oh,
Fitting name. But I've been waiting to drink the Mastermind IPA. Shout out to Duke Manyweather until our show. So I'm really glad that you did that because I want to try it. So give me 1 second. I'll let you know how it is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And surveys. Those pretty. I mean, don't chug it. We got
It's
a little
good.
while here.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fine. So if you were in Dallas and you can find them, Mastermind IPA. Shout out to Duke Manyweather and shout out to Hop and Sting.
I've seen those in the store. I've seen those. So
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
pick them up.
they're out there, guys, if you're in Dallas.
Yeah, and of course, big facts. We got new toys over here. You know what I mean? Yes, we have new toys over here. So I'm gonna press a lot of buttons tonight just because I got new toys over here. So I don't know what to tell you. And if Mary has to get on one of us, it's gonna be simply. So we have things on the background here. But let's go and get into it. Obviously, we're in here with the 53-man roster currently constituted. Some things are probably going to change here over time. We kind of understand that. And we're going to dig into that. But let's kind of maybe start off. We got some offensive line help maybe coming in tomorrow for a visit, Spoonie. Somebody come in for a visit, Spoon?
Yes, and Peters, he's coming in tomorrow. Former Eagles all-pro player, 40 years old. He's coming in tomorrow, and he is a Texas native, which is, he's home. So some experience for that line. Let's see what happens.
10-4. Professor O, I know, and Mary, we were talking about offensive line a lot last week. And in general, we've been talking about it, across this process of training camp, preseason, and now here we are, the cut down. And, we were going through, Leatherwood's available, and then they obviously tried to make a trade with the Jets as well. And things fell through. They didn't put any claims. And then this kind of percolated. Oh, we went back and forth about these guys and where they are. I mean, now we got the Peters walking through here, right? 15 games started last year for Chicago. We've had a little opportunity here to kind of get some tape ready and whatnot. But what did you get to see? What do you think about where he is being 40, although younger than Whitworth, but 40 and coming in here for a visit?
Yeah, so the first thing you're going to think of when you think of a 40-year-old offensive lineman is he's washed, right? He has nothing left. The Bears let him go. If the Bears let him go, what does that mean? If you watch the film, he was actually pretty good last year. So he played 15 games. He missed 2 games because of COVID, allowed 28 pressures, which maybe seems high, but Leatherwood that everybody was capping for gave up 65 pressures last year. Just throwing that out there. He had 6 sacks, a little bit higher than what he usually does, but the film looks pretty good. There's film on him versus Chandler Jones. There's film with him and Trey Henderson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hendrickson, the Bengals defensive end. And he looked pretty good. Especially if you compare him to, say, a Josh Ball in preseason or him versus a Tyler Smith who's never played a snap at tackle. I would much rather shoot my shot there. Realistically, if he comes in tomorrow and they sign him, he's not going to play week 1. We have to, assume he's probably not going to be ready for a couple of weeks while they ramp him up. But I feel much better because it gives you somebody who has flexibility to play guard or tackle. So if Tyler Smith lights it up at tackle, he can be your left guard. If Tyler Smith struggles or just is average, you can move him back to guard and plug him there. And the bully ball that you can play with those 2 massive human beings next to each other is exciting. So I love it. We've been begging for a swing tackle. And in the press conference, I think it was Gelkin maybe that asked the question. If not, it may have been John Machota. But they said, Mike McCarthy, what are the odds of the Cowboys bringing in a veteran swing tackle? And he said, stay tuned. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? So I started hitting the market looking for who is that? Who could it be? And then shortly after that, Todd Archer put the tweet out that it was Jason Peters, and I was pleasantly surprised. So Andrew Whitworth that we talked about said that man can still play, pay him. Duke Manyweather said he still has good film or still is a good player. He would be a great fit for Dallas. Brian Broaddus signed off on him. Those 3 guys know offensive linemen, so I'm going to defer to them since I'm not an O-line guy. But the film I watched so far, I thought he looked pretty good. He's not the elite guy he used to be. Just don't expect an all-pro.
No, he's not 25 anymore.
He's going to come in and be more than serviceable.
Right.
So we'll see if they lock him.
Blanco, no trade was had. They released him, and he was actually picked up on the waiver wire by the Atlanta Falcons is where he's at. So right now, all the eggs are in the basket here with Jason Peters coming in tomorrow for a visit. Mary, get a little future cast from you if I can. So let's say to get the deed done, and as O was talking, probably have to ramp him up a little bit. Same thing with Barr when he came in, right? Because Barr had to kind of catch up a little bit. And this is even further down the line. for sure, if he gets signed to you, he is going to start at left tackle, and they're going to kick Tyler back to left guard. In your opinion, but that's week 2.
I think it's probably going to depend on how week 1 goes. Because right now Jerry has said that Tyler's definitely going to be left tackle, and that means Connor McGovern is going to be at left guard. So I think it depends on how things go. If it looks like McGovern really struggled, but Tyler kind of held his own, then they might keep him at left tackle and put Peters at left guard, or vice versa. So I think it really matters what happens week 1.
Right. It's an interesting conundrum, because I think for Peters to come in and play and sign on to play, I can't see him. I'm just not going to be a starter. Right. Obviously, he has to ramp up into things, but I just can't see him coming here and be like, all right, I'm your backup, quote unquote, swing. And if y'all need me, I'm here. Break the glass and I'll come in. So it is going to be interesting how long it takes him to get acclimated from where he is from a health standpoint. And we'll get a lot of those answers. No, maybe not a lot, but we'll get some of those answers tomorrow for sure. The one thing I will say, it's a large human being, ladies and gentlemen. Jason Peters is a large human being. And when we get into what we kind of believe this team early on for sure is really going to load this thing up and really run this ball, boy, that's a lot more girth, if you will, with him. And if you kick Tyler Smith back into left guard, and kind of some of that foreshadowing with the press conference all you were talking about, it's a little bit of Noah Brown, right? And maybe the lion's share here of the number 2 receiving core or receiver week 1 of the snap count, kind of filling into maybe his blocking and what they're doing there. I'm excited about Peters. We talked about it a lot, and the one thing I always go back to simply is adequate NFL depth, not just a body, and a lot of times we get down the conundrum of, well, you can't have an all-pro everywhere. And I agree. Like, I don't think you can sit there and have all-pros everywhere. I'm not asking for pro bowlers or anyone of that level here to come in and help, but you have to look at what adequate NFL depth is. And where they were currently, and whatever happens here with Peters, right? It just wasn't adequate NFL depth. When we've seen ball at left tackle, it's not good. And you can't trust Willetsko because he missed the majority of camp and preseason with the shoulder, and he's a shoulder waiting to happen. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being slam dunk, it's happening, 1, do you think the deal gets done tomorrow, Spoon, on a scale of 1 to 10? Where are you at on this deal getting done for Jason Peters?
Every time I say we're going to sign somebody, it doesn't happen. So I'm going to stay consistent, because we've been okay in that department where I say no. So, Cowboy Nation, forgive me. This is for us. All right? It's for the Cowboy family here. I'm going to say it's not going to happen. 0.
Oh.
But we all know what I want. You understand?
Is that a little wink there?
Understand?
A little wink.
Listen, it's been working. I'm going to stick with it. So 0, but you know what I want.
Okay. All right. Oh, scale of 1 to 10 here. The Jason Peters deal getting done tomorrow.
I'm going to go with our guy, Ultra Cowboy. I'm going with the 10. I'm going to go the complete opposite of Spoonie for a couple reasons. First, Mike McCarthy in the press conference said, stay tuned. You don't say a comment like that unless you have somebody in mind and there's a decent chance that's going to happen. Secondly, he's a vet swing tackle who said 2 things. I want to come back and play, and I want to play for somebody who can win a Super Bowl, or I want to be able to develop and teach the knowledge that I have to a young player. The Cowboys are a team that should be a playoff team. I don't know if we'll say Super Bowl, but we should be a playoff team. So it at least gives him an opportunity to compete for a Super Bowl. And then 2, we have a young tackle that he can share that knowledge with. So those 2 things line up for him. For the Cowboys, he gives vet experience, which they need desperately. And then secondly, he played for the Bears last year for like $1.3 million. So he fits exactly what Catboy / Jones would be willing to spend on a player. I think it's a slam dunk. I think it's a 10.
Mary?
Yeah, I agree with Matt. Everything he said was everything that was on my mind, but also besides the money part on the Cowboys end, it's they are backs up against the wall type thing right now. And, if this was maybe 2 months ago, I'd probably say no, because we know how they are. Most of the time, they'll slow play somebody. It took them a while to go get Malik Hooker. It took them a while to go get Jaron Curse. When they know they have time, they will slow play something. But this is literally like we play soon on the 11th in less than 2 weeks. So I definitely think that they finally have a sense of urgency because they have to. And so I think it'll happen.
Yeah, I think, man, it's got to be a 10, right? And I got to stick to my guns. If Spoonie's 0 or negative, I got to go polar opposite to the other side now. Is where I have to be. I keep the positive vibes on that realm going. So 10. For me, the only way that this deal doesn't work physically, there's something that's aloof that they didn't expect. I think that's pretty much the only thing that would hold this thing up. I don't think the money's going to be a problem. The both sides of what they're looking to accomplish here with this player, I think line up very well. But 40 and hasn't been in camp, and they're probably going to do maybe a little physical, little workout, see what's up. And he does have a litany list of things he's went through, as any player does at 40, especially playing in the trenches, that he's had to deal with. So for me, the only way I think that this doesn't get done here with Jason Peters is once he gets here, they kind of gets looking at him, whatever, and they're a little hesitant because of maybe some injury things or maybe some conditions that maybe we don't know about. So I'm excited. We've definitely over here pounded the table like, please, dear God, go get somebody. A lot of the times, it was simply just. It's just simply not this offensive line. Get somebody else in here because it was bad, if you will. So exciting to see them get active. So we talked about the space earlier, Spoon, and also the other side too is, and we'll kind of pivot here to the wide receiver side of things. They're kind of getting active in poking around and seeing what they can do there. I've been big on Denzel Mims. And they have called them, amongst other teams. Now the Jets are looking for, the word is a 4th-round pick, and no one was willing to bite, so they're holding him. But they're up against the clock, though. You've already seen, because Minnesota was a team that also inquired. They said no. They went and got Jalen Reagor, right? So that's one team off the board. And as it gets closer here to week 1, things are not going to line up the way for them. So they're going to decide at a certain point, do we want to take something else, or are we just going to release him now at this point? So I'm intrigued here to see them getting after the wide receiver room as well. Mary, do you think before week 1 the Cowboys are going to get extra help here at wide receiver too, or do you think maybe it's something further down the line?
Well, I also want to bring up, I think the Panthers were also supposedly interested in Mims, and they got Chenault.
Right, that's another team off the list now. Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know. Before I said no, but actually finding out that they did call about him, and then also, or at least answer the phone about him, and knowing that the Jets really don't want him, that maybe he won't make it to week 2. So I don't know. I think it's definitely a possibility now more than ever, actually.
Okay. Professor O, do you think the Cowboys are going to add some wide receiver depth here before week 1?
I don't for a couple of reasons. So Jerry Jones the last 2 days has been doing his media circuit, talking to everybody he can. And one of the things he said is Gallup's not going to be on PUP, which we know now he's not going to be on PUP. So that part's true. And he said if it was the Super Bowl, Gallup could play week 1, which I don't see any way that's possible considering Gallup laughed at reporters when he was asked that question. Right. But Jerry seems to think he's that close. Apparently some people within the organization think he could be ready to go week 2. So he's going to be ready a lot sooner than a lot of us predicted when we looked at our timeline. So I don't think they will. With Mims, though, it's really interesting. So there's no way in the world they get a 4th-round pick. And that Reagor trade crushed any hope that they had of getting a 4th-round pick. So you look at Reagor, who was a 1st-round pick, and his net return was a 7th-round pick and a conditional 4-5. So there's no way in the world you're going to get a 4 from anybody in the league for Mims, who has like 400 and something yards or something like that over 2 seasons. You're just not going to get that. So he may get traded ultimately, but they're going to have to come way down on their price. Like he's probably like a 6th at best is what they're looking back in trade compensation. And And then you look at some of the free agents that got cut. People in the chat are mentioning Preston Williams.
Right.
If I was Dallas, a player that the Cowboys allegedly inquired or were interested in going after, and he's available for free, not for free, but without any draft compensation, or having to trade a 4th, 5th, or 6th round pick for Mims, why would you not go for Preston Williams in that situation? Or why would you not pick up the phone and call Malik Turner back, who was waived by the Niners? He's available. So there's guys like that they could get. I think they're good with their wide receiver room. I don't think they're going to make a change, but if they did, I think they would elect to go that route versus making a trade for Mims.
Right. Impressive was we talked about before. He has the size. Something we think that we heard that they were interested at one point in him. So, it's a body. Obviously, I'm putting a pin on the Denzel Mims thing because, again, as teams fall out of the running there, as they're asking for the 4th round pick, they're going to have to make the call. They can hold the cards for now, but only so long. And I do wonder at a certain point, like, okay, that they make the phone call back, we'll take a 6th. Look, I'd be fine with a 5th for Mims, to be honest with y'all, personally. But with that being said, Spoony, do you think the Cowboys are going to get a wide receiver in here before week 1?
No.
Okay.
I really don't. I really don't. They should. I'm not comfortable with Noah Brown as a number 2 receiver at all, even though Schultz is really the number 2 guy as far as targets and everything. But I don't like the depth at all. If something happens to CeeDee Lamb before even Gallup returns, it's not a good look. We don't have that depth. Last season we had Lamb, Amari Cooper, Gallup, and Seth Wilson. Those are the 4 we had. If one went down, we still was able to keep moving the chains with the receivers we had. If something happens to Lamb and Gallup does not return, then again, it's like you said earlier in the space, what type of Gallup is going to return? Which one are we getting? Will he have a relapse? We don't know. It's not like because he's able to play, he's clear that he's going to be running around doing the things he was doing before. It takes time. This is why getting a guy like Denzel Mims, in my opinion, I would give up that 4th round pick with a side of fries and a shake, because at the end of the day, he has a high ceiling. Let's be honest. He has a high ceiling. He's not causing any problem with the Jets. They have their reason to for their relationship to be the way it is. But when we look at Mims, he has a high ceiling. In my opinion, higher than Gallup. In my opinion, higher than Tolbert. Worry about the stuff down the line about who's going to get more playing time. They'll figure that out. We need depth. If we want a chance to take the next step in the playoffs, we need wide receiver depth. It's needed. Preston Williams out there. P.O. Slayton. That's another guy that people talking about. The Panthers want to get rid of Robbie Anderson because of, they got Chanel as well. There's another rumor that was coming out that if it's not Robbie Anderson, it's Terrence Marshall, who played LSU, who, in my opinion, big time sleeper. When they had Jefferson, and I forgot the other receiver's name, but there were still receivers that you can get on this team. Stephen Jones, we need him to press the button. A 4th round pick to help Dak out is not worth it. Give it up.
Oh.
Ooh, I mean, they're not going to do a 4th because then, they gave Amari up 4th, 5th, and I'm just going to, they want to avoid any of that,
That man said a 4th round pick, a side of fries, and a shake. Hey, look, man. Hey, look. I'm team F. I'm team F them picks too.
Yeah, I'm tired.
I don't know if I want to go that far, but I do think going back to what we were talking about with Peters, with him coming in tomorrow for a visit and getting him on here, it's just adequate NFL depth is what it boils down to. For me, I like the wide receiver room. I want to kind of see some things from them, but at the tail end of it, we've talked about this a ton, is that Schultz is your de facto number 2, and we understand the 12 personnel. And so when I asked you on the space, going into week 1, who do you feel better as a threat in the receiving game, Brown or maybe Ferguson in the 12 personnel packages, right?
I said Ferguson.
Right. And if something happens to Lamb on the back end, then you look at the depth down the chart there, then it gets a little scary. And even with the Gallup coming back, it's not even just the physical side. And it's great that he passed the physical, and Jerry's saying, if it was a Super Bowl, he'd play. All that's fantastic. But it's not just about the leg and the injury physically. It's also mentally him trusting that knee and what's going on. So we just don't know what we're going to see from Gallup when he gets back in here and what that's going to mean to this team. So it's just back to adequate NFL depth. You look at the roster, you currently have 2 guys on this roster with NFL catches. That's it. Your entire wide receiver room, there's 2 guys with NFL catches. We all co-sign Lamb, and the other one's Brown. What's Brown got? 39 NFL receptions, I think it is.
And he doesn't have a TD. Lamb
Right.
is the only one with a TD.
Right. So it's just like you have to add adequate depth here. And you didn't see enough in preseason to me. And some of that may be due to some of the Cooper Rush player and whatnot. You didn't see enough from these other guys as well to feel confident about getting here into week 1, 2 before Gallup gets back to say, okay, we're ready to roll. So I'm excited they're doing some things. And maybe you're on to something. Maybe we should give up that 4th round pick for Miz. But a little too rich for me on that front. And I think if you hold out a little bit longer here, as this is drying up for the teams that work on about Mims and the market dries, they're going to have to make a call because I don't think the Jets are going to carry him into the season. I think this is the stall move to try to get what they want. They have a little extra time here because it's a full another week away. But I do think eventually that's going to happen. I think
they might release him or trade him.
Right. And Lockett, it's just there's just no way, right? Oh, like the numbers don't work monetary wise, right? They just extended him last year, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, they could make the trade since it's post June 1st, so just spread the cap hit over 2 years. But I just can't see them doing that because they're going to have early draft picks, especially after making that Russell Wilson trade. They're going to have a bad draft pick on their own, a high draft pick, and then they're going to have multiple picks to maneuver if they need to. You got to think that they want to have some type of a foundation in place for whoever their next quarterback is going to be. But where I would challenge fans to think differently about the wide receiver room, and I'm a wide receiver guy, so I'm all about go get George Pickens, go get this guy, go get that guy. Wide receiver is one of the positions, especially over the last 5 to 7 years, where you can see young, unproven guys make immediate ascensions. Like you see rookies have big seasons all the time nowadays. And I'm not saying they're all going to have Justin Jefferson 1,400-yard years. But it's not uncommon at all to see. It's not uncommon at all to see a wide receiver who's a rookie or a young player have a 700 or 800-yard year because it's easy to pass the ball in the NFL. And another thing I'd like to bring out too is a lot of us are talking about our tight end room and how good we feel in 12 personnel is something we talk about all the time. 21 personnel also plays into that too because if you're going 21, you're having less wide receivers on the field in general. And we're advocating to get more Tony Pollard and more Zeke looks. Yeah, we're advocating to get some of these different packages. So while the overall wide receiver depth is not exciting and it's definitely not proven, I think you can get by with it even if CeeDee Lamb gets hurt because you will have Gallup back sooner rather than later. And I think with the mixture of tight ends and a top flight quarterback, I see your face, Nick. I'm just giving you the alternate perspective. And you have a top quarterback like Dak. And what's one thing about Dak that he's always done well in his career? He distributes the ball. Dak's never been a guy that locks on and throws 18 targets to one player. He always has 8 or 9 different receivers are involved in the mix. So having a quarterback that can distribute the ball, I'm willing to roll the dice there. I'm not willing to roll the dice at tackle. I am willing to roll the dice at wide receiver. So that's my 2 cents.
You make some good points. I don't object.
You know what? I do a little bit. A smidge. I'm like, if James Washington was here, no problems.
Okay, that make me feel better.
Right. If James Washington was healthy and we're going into the season, no problems for me.
Wait, but did they put him on IR or PUP?
He's on IR, but technically short-term IR. You can return after 4 weeks, but we'll have to wait and see where he's at. We know how we've had receivers with the same injury, and we've seen how that's played out. So it's a big wait and see with him. But on the back end, if Washington was here, right, I'm kosher. Let's roll with it. We got the young guys, and look, it's okay to have. You might need to rely on one young guy, and where I really disagree here with you, I was like, even if Lamb gets out, I'm willing to roll the dice. Man, I mean,
to be clear, that's not what I said. I said I think we'll be okay. I didn't say if Lamb's out, I'm willing to roll the dice. So if Lamb was out right now, not playing week 1, I may not feel the same way. But because we have Lamb, I'm willing to roll the dice with the other guys. I'm just saying, even if Lamb goes out, I think because of the other personnel groupings, you can manage. I'm not saying you're going to have a top 5 offense without those guys. So let me backtrack a little bit. But realistically, I do feel like I think all of us agree we're going to see more 12. That means you're not going to see lots of 4 wide receiver sets. Even if you play 11 personnel, you're talking about 3 receivers. I don't need all of those guys to be top flight guys, especially if I have Schultz eating and I have Pollard eating out of the backfield and I have Zeke and our run game picks up and I have an efficient and top flight quarterback like Dak. I can make that work. I just can't make that work for 14 games. But if it's a short-term thing, like, sure, why not?
Okay, Mary, what's that go? Huh?
I mean, the only thing, like, I 100% agree with, like, pretty much everything he's saying. The only thing is that
we can just stop right there. I pretty much agree with 100% of what he just said. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary. I love you, Mary. I appreciate you too.
No, Mary's gonna hit you with the.
There was a but.
No, I just think that, like, I mean, I'm not 100%. Like, I'm waiting to see if Kellen Moore, you know, does
Uses
a lot of
Pollard,
those things consistently. Right. You know,
Right.
like they trick us into believing that those things are going to happen, and then, you know, they clam up in certain situations, and we don't really see it. So, you know, if he does those things and he uses Pollard like we hope so, and like they've been saying they're going to use him and things like that, then yeah, I mean, I could see how that would work completely.
Yeah, you know, but I do find it very interesting that they are actively pursuing.
Yeah.
You know, I think maybe it's maybe when you look at Dennis Houston, I think in the grand scheme of things, I think they want to get him to the practice squad and add something better than what Houston is right now on this thing. And we'll have to wait and see whether it gets there with the first week or later, or maybe they're professional and they're just gonna roll with it. Just gonna roll with it. Spoonie, you okay with that? Spoonie's got his head. Go ahead, Spoonie.
No, it's Professor O. The great scheme. He put it out there. That's a great solution. The problem is that Kellen Moore, let us be honest, we have not been he hasn't been what we want him to be.
He's not consistent with
exactly,
what he does.
and that's the problem. Look, in the Twilight Zone world that I would love to be in, I would say, Professor O, take the effing headset, go under there, shut up, Stephen Jones, Professor, show him. And guess what? It'd be like, damn, this whole time. And see, and that's the problem. That is
just give him a few IPAs and boom, he's on.
So my thing is this, Kellen Moore. If Kellen Moore was shown to be a very consistent, good OC, I don't even care if a guy from the street was signed to the wide receiver depth. Kellen Moore will find a way to scheme this right to protect his offense. But I can't count on that. I can't count on that at all. Jerry Jones, listen, I love you. I really do love you. I love the work you've done in Dallas. But right now, don't sell me on Gallup playing week 1. Sell me on Noah Brown being the number 2 starter. See, that's what I want. I don't want to hear about if the Super Bowl was tomorrow. Shit, if the Super Bowl was tomorrow, we all would be there. We might not be in seats, but we're going to be there. At the end of the day, I want to sell me on Noah Brown being the number 2 receiver. Now, Professor O came out and put it greatly how to scheme this. The problem is Kellen Moore. I trust what P.O. is saying. I just don't trust in Kellen Moore executing it and being consistent with it. That's the problem. When BJ asked me about Ferguson and Noah Brown, how dare I pick Ferguson, a guy who hasn't played yet? You know why I picked that? Because guess what? Tight end, his room is strong. Wide receiver, we saw Lamb not practice one joint practice. It was a shit show. Let's be honest. We don't. That's a glimpse. So again, Mr. Jones, don't sell the fans about Gallup playing week 1. It was a championship. We know who will be there. Sell us on Noah Brown being the number 2 receiver.
Yeah, I mean, you know, me and Spoonie look at the wide receiver room like this. Yeah, I mean that's where it's kind of where me and Spoon are with the wide receiver room. And look, I get it. You know, the way they're going to work this and things happening. You know, just if Lamb's upright, you're going to be good. And he's young in his time, and we know they're going to get him there. The one thing too, when we're talking about the things and the consistency that you were saying, Mary, and we kind of feel this way. Maybe it's just this offense with their back against the wall now. like he doesn't have a choice but to finally use Pollard in the last year of his contract, the way that we've been waiting for going on now the third year, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's what really gets it involved, because if you start adding Pollard into the mix, you start feeling a lot better about what this offense can kind of do. And that's just going to be the fun part of this ride this season, with how this team is constructed at the skill positions, how they implement, how they run, what do they get to, and what to wait and see. Again, looking to go get Peters tomorrow, and then the other thing is they're at least fishing. They got a line in the water, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, they can put zzz, and they're fishing for a wide receiver. We'll wait and see if they do anything. The one thing I do believe is this, guys: if whatever they're going to do roster-wise, I think is done before Monday, or at the very latest by Monday. Whatever it is, when we get up Monday morning, I think that's it, and this is the team moving forward until further notice.
Hey, BJ, you're leaving this weekend, right?
Yeah, I'm leaving Saturday.
Saturday. I swear, if we get a receiver, and you don't hear from him, I'm going to give me a bird. I'm going to get him a letter, old school way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to fly that bird right.
You see, he's going to send you a raven. Shout out to Game of Thrones.
Right to you, and you can bam right there.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, keep me in the loop, because I will be out of the country on a boat somewhere. I think that's the two biggest things that they've been, poking around now since the waiver claim wire. Nothing a whole lot. I did have somebody particularly ask me the question, and I'll kind of spin it to y'all, because I think it's pretty much a mute point, because I think it's Maher until otherwise. But someone that inboxed me and talked about maybe the Cowboys should add somebody just for this week coming up, just to have a competition. I'm like, to me, that's said and done. The only thing that's going to happen to kicker moving forward is simply, if it goes left, they'll get rid of him and bring somebody else in. Anyone buying? We bring a kicker in, or
who's left?
Cameron Dicker from the University of Texas. I got to keep hearing about him.
No, I think they're set on Maher. He's on the practice squad. He beat out Liram and the rookie already. So I think they're hoping, everything goes good with him. And if it doesn't, hopefully they won't wait until the season's over and then still try to re-sign him again and then have to do this whole competition next year.
Yeah, I just think they made their bed with it at this point. And they're moving forward. But I just threw it out there. I know, Spoonie, y'all, same. Just somebody hit me with it, and I was like, well, I'll pivot around here for the show and see.
I do want to shoot down this Cam Dicker conversation. So first off, he's a punter now. He's a punter now. He's played for 2 teams in the NFL so far in his young rookie career and been cut twice already. He's a punter. But to be clear, as a kicker in college, he was a 75% field goal kicker. We collectively as Cowboys fans just ran Greg Zuerlein out the door for being an 82 or 83% field goal kicker. We're not signing a dude who's 75%. If you wanted that, you may as well just rock with Garibay, because that's about probably what he did in college. So it's one of those things, like, just you got to let that one go. There's not a ton of kickers I really feel comfortable with anyways, but I'm also team just go for it anyways. We have an all-pro punter.
Yes, so let it hang and don't tuck it.
Yes, let it hang. So if I'm crossing the 45 or 50, I probably just want to go for it anyways, or pin them deep because I have an all-pro punter. So I don't really want to kick a field goal anyways. I just need the dude to kick off and kick extra points. If he can do those 2 things, I'm good. I don't know. I don't think there's a ton of kickers out there that we would go after. I know Hopkins is still available. I know Kai Forbath's the name that kind of circulates over and over, but it looks like NFL teams are just out on him because no one's touched him in the last year and a half. So there are still guys out there if you need, but it looks like Maher's our guy.
Look, realistically, man, I thought it was in 300 for a second here. Whenever he's talking about, I don't care, just go for it. That's it, like that's where O was.
That's how I am. I'm like, unless it's like 4th and 18 or something, I probably feel more confident with their offense anyways than Maher kicking. I'd rather just go for it. So.
Fair enough. Let's go ahead and pivot over here. That's kind of some of the things that are on the front iron for this roster currently that this organization's dealing with. Once again, just to recap, they fished out here for a wide receiver. we'll wait and see. Too much for Mims, so they passed on that. And then, of course, they're bringing in Jason Peters for a left tackle, and they'll have the meeting with him tomorrow, and we'll keep y'all updated, and we'll see how that unfolds when he gets into town. Shouldn't be too far. He's somewhere around here in East Texas, I'm sure. So he ain't too far away. But let's get to this 53-man roster now. Let's kind of spin the block here. They went through there. They cut some people. We kind of warned some people. Some people will get cut, and they'll still make it to the practice squad. Don't worry. We kind of saw that happen. So the initial 53, when there's going to be some manipulation stuff going on here, did anything stick out to you from this 53 who maybe made it or who got cut? Is there anything in that wheelhouse for y'all? I'll start with you, O. Mm-hmm. Anybody that surprised you that made it still that's hanging on? Or
I mean, I want to make sure I leave some meat on the bone because I have a lot of thoughts on this topic.
Yeah,
but
just one. Just one. Just one.
The strategy of going with one quarterback, I love that so much. I do, because you can activate a quarterback from your practice squad 3 times a year. We have 2 quarterbacks on our practice squad. After the 3 call-ups, you have to decide if you want to cut them or activate them. If we cut them, they don't have to clear waivers. We can literally just cut them and immediately re-sign them and then do it another 3 weeks. So we can continuously do that. There's no reason whatsoever to eat a roster spot for a backup quarterback. It seems crazy to people when they're looking at it saying, well, who's the backup quarterback? What are they going to do? I'm like, oh, it's genius. And in fact, the Bengals are actually doing the same thing right now. So it's not just the Cowboys on that bandwagon.
Which the NFL will put a big old hex on this next offseason.
But for now,
this season you'll get it. Hey, this season, no worries. You'll be able to get away with it. But boy, next season NFL's going to be like.
The Mars are going to be like, rule change.
Yeah, hold up. Y'all don't want to keep. Y'all just trying to keep one running back or one quarterback. Nah, you're done.
So King Element said, but can you activate them in game? Yes. So on a practice squad, you can protect 4 players every week. Mm-hmm. I put a tweet out there, so you can go look it up if you want to. But you can protect 4 players every single week, and there's no limit to how many times you can protect the same players. So the Cowboys could say Maher, Greer, Rush, and whatever other player are protected, Malik Davis maybe, are protected every single week. We're not going to let them be exposed to anybody. We don't have to worry about anybody else signing them. And again, because Greer and Rush both qualify as vets that are past the limit, they can cut them and re-sign them continuously. Same thing with Maher. But yes, you have a 53-man game day roster and your 2 game day call-ups, which could, in this situation, you would bring up Maher and whichever quarterback you want. You can bring them up and have a 54th and 55th player on your game day roster. That's the whole reason for this. It changed in 2020 with the COVID rules, so things are a little bit different now. But yes, you can bring them up and they can play. And it's a loophole that a lot of people are going to take advantage of this year. I don't think it'll be a long-term thing, but for right now, it's part of the CBA. So unless the players agree to amend it, it's probably not going anywhere. Although people think the NFL owners are probably going to squash it, they can't unless the NFL players agree to that. So it's actually a smart strategy by the Cowboys, and I think you're going to see a lot of teams take advantage of it.
Big facts. Spoonie, this roster 53 original here, what they're doing. Surprise on maybe someone still here, maybe surprise someone that got removed.
Well, first I want to point out what Professor O just said was great. It was awesome. That's beautiful right there. Number 2, Stormy Jackson. I thought he played well in the preseason. He made a lot of plays. Was always around the ball, very active on the defense. I thought that he would make it, but he didn't. I know a lot of Cowboys, us and other Cowboy content creators was definitely heavy on him during the once the draft process ended. But I'm hoping at a certain point he'll be retained, whatever they do. But I was kind of surprised with that. I'm happy with Mike Fu at least. Mike Fu, Utah. I'm glad he came back. He made a lot of plays in the preseason. Was always around the very active. Those are my 2 guys.
Yeah,
it's funny, by the way. So his name is actually Mika Tafua, but the Cowboys, being the Cowboys, we had him on our roster twice as Mike Tafua and Mika Tafua on the official Cowboys website roster. I'm like, guys, come on, we're an NFL team. We got to be better than that. So I just thought it was funny. Real quick before you guys go, the Lunatic had a question. He said, "Where's it at?" Here it is. He said, "Listening to Blogging the Boys and Ochoa's explanation I need clarification if it's 2 times or 3 times and only once a season for one player. Okay, so I'm happy to answer that. So if you go to Ian Rappaport, he actually tweeted it out a few months ago. The NFL ratified the CBA based on what the COVID rules were. It was 2 times a season last year. It's now 3 times a season. And after 3 times, you have to either activate the player or cut them and expose them to waivers. In this situation, since the guys that we would be activating, both Maher and Rush, are actually veterans, they don't classify through the waiver policy. Once you release a player and re-sign them, you can then get another 3 games. So the Cowboys could literally every 3 weeks
all season,
cut these players and immediately re-sign them without them going to waivers and keep activating it. As long as the players are cool with it, they can keep doing that. And keep in mind for the players, they're on a practice squad salary, but the weeks that they get activated, they get a prorated full veteran minimum salary. So they would get paid the exact same amount of money in this situation as they would if they were on the active 53 for the whole year. So there's not really a disadvantage as long as the players are cool with it. But yes, they can do it multiple times. They just have to make the decision after 3 promotions or activations.
Bada bing, bada boom. Spoonie, the thing you talking about Story Jackson, I think to me it's just the Cowboys and what they believe in when they have draft picks. Harper, and that's why on my 53 projection, I put Harper over just because they drafted Harper and Story wasn't drafted. And I think this is kind of the brass tacks of it when it comes to that. But he is back on the practice squad, right? Story came back to the practice squad. Or no, they didn't keep him back. That's right.
No,
okay.
not at all.
I know I was looking at it earlier, but I forgot. Mary, with this roster movement here, anything on the cuts or anything on who's still on the roster maybe surprised you?
Honestly, no. And the reason why is because knowing our situation at wide receiver, they wouldn't normally go, what is it, like seven or 8 wide receivers? They wouldn't normally go that deep.
Right.
So it doesn't surprise me at all because they're even as confident as they sound, they are still waiting to see what some of these guys do. They kept James Washington on there. So I really wasn't surprised because, you go long there. Normally they might keep 5, 6. That's 2 extra spots, 1 extra spot.
Right.
So it wasn't really a surprise for me at all.
Yeah, on mine, whenever my projection on it, I think I had 6 or 7 wide receivers, but I didn't think Houston would make it. I figured they would kind of move him over to the practice squad. I thought great camp, not enough preseason, and they would kind of move forward on how things lay, but they held on to him. So a little bit of surprise for me there. Other than that, the nice move with the quarterbacks is great. And I guess it's the end of an era in Dallas. It is. Spoonie, we banged the table for this guy, and whatnot. And our guy, he puts out great hats for people, not for me, but for other people in true brand. But it looks like the Ben DiNucci era, Nucci Gang era is officially over in Dallas, as they did bring back Rush and Greer, and Nucci did not make it back, Spoon.
Well, man, anybody who bought the hat, can I get a refund? Or?
Oh, come on now.
I mean, he's probably going to stay in Dallas. I mean, the hat is a good backup business. People love the hats, they sell out. So
I mean, listen. I mean, he's not here. I mean, listen. Thank you for the sidearm throws, the height, the Italian stallion stuff that we talked about. Definitely going to be missed. Draft another quarterback next year. That's it. Lay round.
Yeah. It was fun times and it was non-fun times with Nucci. It was fun times and non-fun times with Nucci. Was thrilling this preseason, and I will say, if you looked at what he did in preseason, he actually evolved. I was like, wow, Nucci's actually playing kind of good.
I kind of feel bad for him. I do.
Yeah, I was like, I saw some progress, some really good progress from him this preseason. They're like, yeah, but we got Will Greer now, and Rush is just going to be here. He just, it is what it is. So wish him the best. I think he'll do well with the hats. The hats have done well for him. So, Spoonie, you mentioned something very quietly there at the back end, but it matters. Very much so. You could see the Cowboys dip back into the draft next year and draft them another quarterback to develop. So I do think that's maybe a sign of things to come there. That's a great point. On this roster, the defensive line, they kept Ridgeway. They ended up keeping Ridgeway now, and they kept Hill as well. Now they did move on from Watkins, but Watkins is officially back to the practice squad.
Yeah.
So there's that. How you feeling about the moves they made here and what they kept on the defensive line?
I mean, defensive line, there was a good argument for 12 players. Really 13, like Spoonie mentioned, Mika Tafua had a really good offseason. He's a player that on a lot of teams may have been one of their 11 or 12 guys they kept. So I'm glad that he came back on the practice squad. But really, any of those guys make sense. Like, I would have probably went for Watkins over Ridgeway because I don't think Ridgeway's shown enough right now, and I think he needs time to develop. But I also understand the Cowboys like their draft picks. They spent a draft pick on him. That's important to them. It's a lot more important to them than it is me because in my mind, like, it's just a 5th-round pick. I see teams cutting 3rd-round picks. I see teams cutting 1st-round picks after a year. So
after a year, right.
It's just, it's a new NFL, so we're looking at things differently than what we used to look at it, because draft picks were always secure, especially if you were a day 1 or day 2 for at least 3 years. You got the 3-year rule, and now things are, kind of out the window there. But I understand why they like Ridgeway. He's young. He offers upside. They wanted to beef up the interior. Ultra Cowboy has been arguing me over Ridgeway for 3 weeks now because I keep saying him I would cut, but I understand why they would keep him. I mean, he's a draft pick. They like him, and he helps stop the run. I don't think he's going to play a ton. I think Watkins probably would have played more than he does. But, again, I get it. I did think Tristan Hill was virtually a lock 2 days before final cutdowns because Jerry Jones was talking about – keep in mind, this is GM Jerry Jones, not owner Jerry Jones. Talking about the 5 guys that most impressed him. He mentioned Quinn Bohanna. So, obviously, he's a lock. He made the team. He had a great offseason. And he mentioned Tristan Hill as 2 of the 5 guys that impressed him the most this year. So, again, he's a guy they spent a 2nd-round pick on. They don't want to be wrong on him. They want to feel right. And he had a good offseason, so it's easy to justify that decision right now. So, I'm glad
he was actually good. He was pretty good last season before he got injured as well. So
yeah, so I'm glad that he's there. So I'm glad that they kept 11 and were able to keep Watkins. So essentially they got all 12 guys back, which is good.
Right. And they can roster maneuver that some for the practice squad and get him up and do different things. And we talked about this in the space before we got on, Spoonie, that looking where the offense is, maybe some of these depth pieces and whatnot, because the big thing we talked about throughout, and people always brought up, well, they could just trade him and get a piece, or maybe you could trade Basham, and kind of move a piece here that makes something happen. But the big thing I think they're looking at too is last year they had injuries on the defensive line, right? Because Brett Urban was hurt, and we saw what that meant to them. Gallimore missed a ton of time. We saw Osa get ran down because they didn't have adequate depth in that really. They had to wait for Hill to get back from the injury. Chauncey Golston got nicked up, right? D-Law missed time. Gregory. And I think and I think what they looked at is how they're building this team to attack this year, and they're looking on the other side of the ball is like, hey, we can't afford to lose any of these guys because we need the rotation at defensive line. And especially the one thing that we've banged the table about is this run defense, right? Granted, not playing against all starters in preseason, but if you look at the numbers and what they did defensively against the run, big improvement. Now they got to carry it over to regular season, but I think in general, the guys that they kept that way matter because of what they're looking at, how this team's going to have to operate and going through what they went through last season. Mary and Spoonie have always been the table for we want the meat. We want the big boys with the fatties, and we definitely have tons of beef up front here.
I have a solution.
Line.
I have a solution. Very quick solution. I mean, it's a dream. It's not gonna happen because I'm saying it, but it's a quick solution. Okay, Tristan Hill. He's been the conversation of trades. We could definitely a team who want to fight like Tristan Hill, you can have him. Give us what we need to return, a receiver or another position. And after we do that, we go sign the meanest fatty that's still available in free agency, and we'll plan his former team week 1. And I'm talking about Ndamukong Suh.
What's free agency, Spoonie? We don't know what that is.
Well, hold on now. We're bringing in Jason Peters.
I mean, why not?
It's not free agency anymore, though.
I know. There you go. But see, that's the great part about having all this great depth. We can be very flexible, but you can still Carlos Walker is a practice squad guy. You can always bring him back to replace Hill this as well. So you can do this move. Hill is the last year of his contract. We're not re-signing him. We're gonna get a comp pick. But I'd rather get me sign me a Sue, sign me Sue, trade Hill. Hey, Chess, you like Hill? I mean, call these teams. Call these teams and see what's the value. What can we get in return that's going to help this team out? You got to be aggressive. And I mean, it's a dream. I don't think it's going to happen. But there are things you can do when you have solid depth, especially at defense. There are guys that you can definitely trade. Some of these are coming at all next year.
It's an interesting point. It's interesting roster maneuvering. You flip Hill perhaps, and then you bring in Sue. What's the trade value for Hill? I mean, I don't know. Right? I mean, last year of his deal.
Is it enough? Like,
yeah, and then and as Mary said, I just don't do it. Sue wants a bag. I think
they've had, I mean, it's been what, 2 or 3 off seasons where he's been available, and they've shown absolutely no interest.
True.
It's not going to change.
Very, very true. Flip it over here to the linebackers, right? Linebackers, kind of par for the course, right? Maybe the bottom there, right? Was it going to be Harper? Was it going to be Story? But I mean, obviously, Micah Parsons, Barr, we knew once he signed, he was here. LVE, Jabril Cox, Gifford for now, and Harper. No big shocks there whatsoever. Do you think, depending on the roster maneuvering, that Luke Gifford could maybe see the door, or we think this is pretty much set and move forward? Oh,
I mean, we know that Bones Fossil has a lot more pull in the organization than a lot of fans realize, and Luke is a good special teams player. He missed a lot of time in camp, like 2 of the last 3 weeks, essentially, with a groin injury, and then did play well against Seattle. So I think he really needed that game to solidify a roster spot. I would have preferred for them to go with somebody like a Malik Jefferson, Christian Sam, Story Jackson, somebody like that, go a little bit younger, just because I think we've seen what Luke Gifford is at this point. But we know how the Cowboys feel about their guys. He was not a draft pick, but he's one of their guys. They trust him. They know what he can do in special teams. He's reliable, and he's played in games when needed at defense. Not a ton, but he has played snaps. So that means something to the team. I do think, to answer your question, he would definitely be one of the first guys out the door, especially when you look at the final 53, who's available to be cut, who they could put on IR, etc. He's the name that's probably the lowest down on the totem pole, with maybe a Josh Ball. If Jason Peters is signed, he's going to be one of the first out the door. But he's a special teams guy, so for now, he has value. So I understand why they would elect to go with him versus Story Jackson, who may be a little bit more exciting to fans.
All right. Spoonie, pivoting over here to the cornerback room and safety room, right? Kind of par for the course, kind of what we expected. Although it looks like Goodwin's going to stick back on the roster, and we were kind of up and down. We said, hey, he'll probably get cut because of the monetary. Not sure if he will be back in. We thought maybe Coyle could kind of supplant him in that role, but he is back to the roster. Coyle is back to the practice squad as well. So nothing really surprising you there, I would imagine, at the safety or cornerback room.
No.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Kelvin Joseph made it. I really thought that.
You think maybe IR stash? You think about IR stash maybe with the concussion?
Yeah, right. Yes, IR. I really thought they would probably IR him for the season. I mean, let's be honest. He did not give a lot out there from what we saw. This is just pretty much special teams talk conversation. But hey, listen, they believe in him still by him being here still. I really thought that he would take the year off on IR. I really, really thought that. But he made it. And this is what we got. He has time to prove again another season that he still belongs here.
Fair. Why we talked about the quarterbacks already. Running backs. Kind of what we thought. When we were doing the live stream, as soon as Rico wasn't lined up and playing, I was like, okay, well, he's definitely made the team. I never thought there was going to carry 4 running backs. I know there were some that kind of thought it would happen because of Malik Davis and what was going on, but it was like, no. And that's if y'all remember my tweet before that game, actually, I was like, there's always that guy every year. And this is not just a Cowboys related thing. this is around the league, any fan base, any team, that, oh, there's no way you can cut this guy because no ifs, ands, or buts. You can't do it. And I was like, every year it happens. Every week getting back.
Yeah.
I remember Lance Lenore, ladies and gentlemen. And I was like, Malik Davis is who I'm going to say that people are going to lose their mind if we cut him, and he'll be right on the practice squad. And guess what? He is. And I'm happy about it because I liked what he did in preseason and whatnot. But they carried 3. Now, they could have got jiggy with it. They could have, because they only kept the nice curveball, manipulating the loophole here. They only kept 1 quarterback. So they could have went 4 deep and it wouldn't have hurt them. But they didn't. So Rico, Zeke, Pollard, and Davis down there in the cul-de-sac, per se, if you need to bring him up any time. No big surprise here around the panel here, I don't think. The wide receiver room we've discussed as well, with Houston being here. Maybe he's the guy, if they bring a guy in, moves forward. Offensive line, to me, Mary, nothing really was crazy there either. Any of y'all for offensive line? Anything really stuck out, right? Kind of
No, I thought Collins had a shot until Let's Go played, and then that pretty much shut the door there. So offensive line is kind of what I expected. I do want to say, for running back fans that were upset, I get that Malik Davis looked really good. I get it. Trust me, I do.
But
running back 3 in Dallas is irrelevant. Like, hear me when I say this. It is irrelevant. It does not matter whatsoever if you have Rico Dowdle. You could have Sam Rowe out there. Doesn't matter. Zeke's going to get the carries whether he's healthy or not. Doesn't matter. We're like begging for Tony Pollard to get snaps. So Tony Pollard's a really good running back too.
Exactly.
He could probably be a running back 1 for some teams in the NFL. And we can't get him the ball enough. Stop talking about running back 3. That's a special teams player in Dallas. He's only going to play in blowouts. It doesn't matter. It really does not matter. So when people are talking about going 4 deep, I'm like, why? Like,
so
we can't even get our running back 2 carries or enough carries. Like, we're not going to give running back 3 and 4 touches. So just got to let it go, guys.
Oh, well.
He's spoken.
He is spoken. It's out of here. He is spoken. So that's where it is. But I'm glad he's on the practice squad. Then we come to the tight ends. And this is where it gets interesting, because this was you had the draft pick, you had the undrafted guy, and then you had the incumbent. Well, we knew Schultz was going to be here. Then you had McEwen, the incumbent, who did get banged up. But that last preseason game, beforehand, we all kind of felt like Hendershot probably made the team. But boy, the last preseason game, I mean, to the moon, right, is what happened there. So on the roster, they kept 3, right? So you got Schultz, Hendershot, and Ferguson. But they did get McEwen back, and we kind of talked about this as well. But the Cowboys are going to do so much of this 12 personnel, it just kind of made sense that they were going to make sure they had 4 available on the roster. And, we kind of talked, once Sprinkle got cut, it kind of felt like, hey, this is kind of cut and dry and done here. And now if you've been healthy, maybe some different things will be here. But here we are. Guys, I don't know about y'all. I'm definitely offensively the most excited about any group here is these tight ends. Not being biased because I maybe used to play tight end, but I am supremely excited about these tight ends. Hendershot, undrafted all the way here to make it. We actually ran the poll about how many undrafted rookie free agents will make it, and we ended up with 3. Who we have? So we got Marquise Bell, we got Hendershot, and we got Dennis Houston. And then technically 4 if you want to count Turpin.
Right.
I'm going to pin something on that because I want to come back to that when you talk about rosters. But Hendershot and Ferguson here, and what we got to see from them throughout training camp and preseason, Mary, feeling pretty good about the tight end room?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we talked about before how this time last year we were kind of like, and we were all in on Jarwin, doing his thing finally and hoping that the other guys could step. And then when Jarwin got injured, we kind of all panicked, like, oh my God, what is Schultz going to do type thing. But he walked through the door. He did his thing.
Right.
And, coming into this year, we, talked about, like I said, this time last year, we were nothing like where we are now with the tight end. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see them. We need them to continue on this trajectory because we've talked about it before. Schultz is technically going to be the number 2 guy. He's not a wide receiver, but he's the number 2 guy. So, with our wide receiver room I feel like more questions with, the fact that we don't even know if Tony Pollard's really going to be used like they say he's going to be used. I think it's very important. That 12 personnel Professor O always talks about, super important. So I'm excited.
Do we think coming into, this training camp, by the end of training camp, we're like, excluding Dak and the quarterback, that this would be the best position group on this team? Oh,
I mean,
offensively, not.
I was going to say, offensively, yeah.
Offensively.
No, I mean, I liked Hendershot, but I didn't expect the tight end group to collectively look as good as they do. So Schultz, like a lot of us have talked about multiple times, he's going to be a heavy part of our offense this year. He's on a franchise tag, so we don't know if he'll be back. But as of this year, he's going to be a big part of your offense. Ferguson was the guy that we took that, he was a draft pick. Draft picks mean something to Dallas. So a lot of us had expectations there. Sean McEwen was a guy we know that they liked last year, but he was battling the injury bug. So we thought he's probably going to be tight end too, and then at some point Ferguson's going to supplant him throughout the season. And then we had Sprinkle, who's kind of the de facto special teams blocking tight end. So we kind of thought we had a pretty good grasp for what those top 4 tight ends look like. There were some of us capping for Hendershot for good reason, as you guys see now. Because on one drive alone, you saw the Jason Witten play. When that happened, Nick's live on air was like, that looks like Jason Witten. He looks like Jason Witten. And that's kind of the mental image you get of the helmet popping off against the Eagles. Then later on the drive, he breaks a tackle, makes a guy miss, and you're like, kind of looks like Jarwin. So you have a guy who's your tight end 3, young player who, had he not had a DV in college, which DVs are very serious, I'm not trying to dismiss that by any means, but had he not had that, he would have been drafted, and you can see that talent. Like he's a seam stretching tight end that can make plays with the ball in his hand, and that's our third option. Last year, our third option was Jeremy Sprinkle, Sean McEwen, guys like that you feel okay if they're on the field, but you don't think that they're going to really make anything in terms of production-wise. Now we have 3 legit tight ends that I'm like, yeah, let's go 12 personnel because I feel very good about Hendershot versus your safety. I feel very good against Ferguson versus your linebacker. Let me get that matchup. And knowing that if you look at the numbers from Football Outsiders last year, teams are playing 11 personnel in base formation less than 3% of the time, but they're playing 12 personnel when you add that second tight end on the field. They're playing base formation 49.9% of the time. So we'll just call it 50% of the time. So I now know I have a really good shot of getting, unless you're in man coverage, I can draw your safety or linebacker in coverage versus my wide receiver or tight end, and I'm going to take that matchup every single day. But if you have better athletes on the field and your nickel and dime formations, you suddenly have the athletic advantage over me. So if I have 12 personnel, I can run the ball more effectively. I can pass the ball more effectively, which the numbers show. But Nix and I had a conversation last week off air. As a defensive end, whether the tight end chips or not, it impacts what you do as a pass rusher because you can't line up in a wide 9 without taking yourself out of the formation. You can't also say pre-snap, I'm just going to circle around and use a speed rushing move because you don't know if the tight end's going to double you. You don't know if he's going to chip you and hit you right in the ribs. It impacts the way that you as a pass rusher decide to play that snap. So just having him there, whether he touches you or not, impacts what you're doing. So now I can dictate what you're doing versus taking what you give me, and that's huge. And I think that's why Kellen Moore, we all say, is in his bag when he's in 12 personnel because it's the one formation that we've been able to do successfully where we get to pick what you do, not you pick what we do. And when we're in 11, we're doing the complete opposite of that. We're now matching up against your strength because teams' nickel is their strength nowadays. Teams have more athletic cornerbacks than they do athletic linebackers. So when we do that, we're literally playing right into your hand because every team in the league is doing that. When we go 12 and you're not seeing that at a high level of snaps, you're seeing that 18% of the time versus other teams, and we're doing it 30 or more, suddenly we have the advantage. So that's why Kellen Moore's in his bag. So, yeah, I love this tight end room.
Yeah. Question here from Mill says, I heard folks asking O.J. Howard, how do y'all feel about it? I mean, he could make it in Buffalo. I mean.
Yes, it is news.
Yeah, I think stick where we are now. And look, I mean, he was supposed to be a guy in Tampa. He never completely walked through that door. There's definitely opportunity for him in Buffalo. You know, obviously Knox is there, but there's opportunity for there in Buffalo. And the fact he couldn't catch on there in Buffalo either, I think it just kind of speaks to where O.J. Howard is. No disrespect to the guy, but I think where the Cowboys are currently, I'm pretty much kosher.
I thought he went to the Bengals. I thought he signed with the Bengals.
He was with Buffalo and he got cut from Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did early in the show. We kind of let off the show with that, Sam. You'll have to rewind it when we get up out of here and catch us talking about it real quick. How many? Now we know Peter's coming in, and we'll see what happens there. Possibly a wide receiver. Constituting what you think so far, or do you think there's some other things that are going to happen here? Do you where they're sitting right now with this roster? And we know if they add in Peters, some things are going to happen, and if they happen to go add another place. But just say you're adding in Peters, everything else is pretty much kind of where it's at, right?
I would think so.
We did our IR stuff already and everything.
Yeah, barring injuries, obviously that's the game changer right there. I think they're pretty set. I mean, they've made it pretty clear. The two positions we've talked about are wide receiver and offensive line, and that's not something that's like an immediate conversation, right? We as Cowboys fans have been talking about those two position groups for weeks or months now. Like that's been front and center for all Cowboys Nation. But offensive line, I believe they're going to address tomorrow. I'm pretty confident they're going to sign Jason Peters, and I think once they've done that, they're good at offensive line in their mind. Whether you agree or not, that's how they're going to look at it. Wide receiver, they may continue to flip over a couple stones and peek around a few corners to see what's available. But I think that they feel pretty confident with the young guys based on what they've said. And if you're going 8 deep at wide receiver, really 7 once we made the change with Washington on IR, it kind of tells you a little bit about how they really feel about the wide receiver room, despite what they're saying. Because if you feel like you have a really good room, you don't have to go 7 deep. You're like, we can go with 5.
That's
we have.
my point. Yeah.
The fact that they're going that deep kind of tells you something. And even if you remove Gallup from the conversation, that's still 6 guys that they really have at wide receiver. So I can't imagine that they feel as confident as they're saying. But again, I do believe that the Mike McCarthy influence on the offense is a little bit more real than what we thought. And I know that every year we say this with Kellen Moore, like this is the year he's going to change. This is the year he's going to learn. Everybody who's there at camp, whether they're a Dallas media member or they're a YouTube content creator who was there last year, all say that the offense looks noticeably different in the passing game. They're seeing more pre-snap motion. They're seeing more bunch formations. They're seeing quicker passes. So a little bit more of that West Coast offense influence, which is based on what Mike McCarthy's doing. So, yeah, I do believe that we're going to see some changes with the offense. I don't know. They may make some changes at wide receiver, but I personally think that they're going to rock with what we have unless there's an injury. So, like you guys mentioned, if maybe Gallup's injury return is not as quick as what they're thinking, or maybe CeeDee Lamb or somebody like that goes down, maybe then they'll do it. But I don't think they're going to make a change. But the fact that they did inquire about Mims means something, right? You're not going to call a team and potentially offer a draft pick, which is gold to the Cowboys organization, unless you have some real pain that you're looking to fill there.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it out there. I'll take a stab at it. I am. I think they're gonna circle back to Mims before the weekend.
Ooh.
I think they are. I think
Can I ask you this real quick? Do you think the Jets will realistically trade him? Or I want to bring this up because this conversation's been had for a few years now with the Jets organization in particular, especially with the way that the Jamal Adams and us publicly mentioning that they wanted Zach Martin and all that stuff unraveled.
Right.
Do you think there's some bad blood there? Is that real or is that fan made up? I'm just curious because I've seen a few people on Twitter bring that up saying there's no way Joe Douglas, who's a former Eagles guy, is going to trade with the Cowboys, especially with the way that things went down last time they had conversations. Do you think that stuff matters or not? Just curious.
I think sure. I think some of that stuff matters. I don't think it's just completely nonsense. But what I also know is there's feelings and there's business.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And I think that was business then, and feelings got stepped on or whatever the case is. But that was then and this is now. And here's the thing about it. It would be different if the Cowboys called and they tried to get like a 3rd round pick for him. But it wasn't just the Cowboys. And the Cowboys already talked to them about an offensive lineman as well. So if it was really that kind of stuff, like there just wouldn't be any conversation. Right.
Yeah,
so I'm sure the Jets wasn't very happy with what happened during the Jamal Adams situation. Absolutely. On the same token though, that was 2 years ago. I mean, it's just moved forward from that standpoint. They have assets they need to offload. They're trying to get something to recoup them. And once again, it's all that they offered him to us for a different price that the other teams called. It was fourth round pick to everybody. Mm-hmm. So to me, when I look at their roster and where they are, and I look at everyone that's drying up that possibly could get it, that were inquiring about him, they're not going to keep him. Like, I don't think they are. When I look at the roster and where they're headed, they're not. They're playing the long game to try to get the most they can for it. That's why I think the Cowboys will circle back. I'm not going to go all the way out there and stamp like the Cowboys are going to make this happen, but I'm willing to bet we're going to hear about them circling back around Friday or Saturday. I think they will take another shot at Mims. I think I'm to the point where, looking at the roster depth and how many guys they've kept at wide receiver, and the fact that they're inquiring about Mims, I think they can say what as you said, they can say what they want to publicly and how they feel about it, but they're walking in with Noah Brown as their number 2, not the guy that they drafted, and we know how much they love draft picks, but not Tolbert. They're walking in with Noah Brown, and I think that's the point where it's going to make them feel indifferent. No different than the offensive line. They tried Ball. That was their draft guy from a year ago, and of course the Waletzko injury, and they got to see a little bit of Waletzko here in the third preseason game. And then they tried to call and get an offensive lineman via trade. And now here, as soon as that didn't go right and the waivers all cleared and they got their business taken care of, now here comes Jason Peters. And beforehand, they said all along, oh, Ball's fine. He's our swing. He's locked it down. So there is side talk from what they're saying publicly to what they're really doing behind the scenes. They did it with the offensive line. I think we're seeing it right now in the crumbs that we can kind of follow and how many is on this roster at wide receiver, especially as I look like Dennis Houston per se. Yeah, I think they're active. Will they get it done? Now, that I don't know. But I do think they are active and they are going to try. I think they'll circle back to Mims and maybe quietly, maybe pivot to Robbie Anderson from Carolina. And he's available, and we'll see, and especially now that they landed Chenault from the Jacksonville Jaguars, which, man, oh, damn it, we tried. We talked about Chenault. Man. We tried
to speak it into existence.
Yeah,
I do want to say real quick, too, thank you for answering that. I agree with you 100%. I just wanted to bring it up because I've seen enough people mention it that I think that there is some of that out there. And King Element and Samuel Rowe perfectly lined this up. So King Element said, I don't think NFL teams are that petty. Not long after that, our guy Samuel Rowe said the Cowboys front office is that petty, and I actually so I do believe obviously there's business and personal feelings and relationships. Mm-hmm. Joe Douglas, yes, he was with the Eagles organization, now it's with the Jets, and yes, he may have been frustrated with the way things went down with the Jamal Adams trade publicly, but he's also a GM who's probably not safe. Like, he needs to win games or have something for the front office, the ownership to believe in him. So if he keeps Mims and Mims doesn't perform and produce and have a good season, and the front office looks at him and says, hey, well, I thought the Cowboys offered you a 5th round pick. And he's like, yeah, but remember the Jamal Adams thing? Like, that doesn't make him look good. They're like, I wanted the draft capital. Forget that. Yeah. Like, you do have to separate those things in business. So again, I appreciate you answering. I think that was perfect answer. I think it's the same, but again, because it's been brought up so much, I wanted to at least address that.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And look, there are things that happen. I do think at times there's teams that view Stephen Jones and kind of think maybe a particular way about, the business they're going to handle. But as far as like the Jets don't want to do business with them anymore because of Jamal, I just don't buy that. Again, if that was the case, the Cowboys wouldn't be inquiring with the Jets still. Like, okay, this is a new point. Why are we even calling? Like, they would understand, right? If it's reciprocated that way, that it wouldn't happen. Sure. Hurt feelings, piss off.
I mean, you could 100% like not like business with someone. Like, you could have something going on and y'all are going back and forth and you can't agree. That doesn't mean that personally, like, laughing it up at the GM or owners meetings.
Right.
Like, a lot of people separate the two. Like, a lot of people can do that. I mean, maybe the average fan can, but these are super rich guys who lived a long time and they've gotten to where they've gotten because they can do those types of things. Right. You're not going to ever be in a situation where you like everybody you have to work with. So
there's definitely relationships too in the NFL too. Like the Eagles and Cowboys are interdivision rivals, and we make trades all the time in the draft. All the time. We don't make trades with the Giants very often. I do think there probably is some bad blood with Jerry Jones and Mara. Like, I believe that.
There is. Oh, of course.
I definitely think if was advantageous for the Washington Commanders and the Cowboys to make trades, they would do it. But the Eagles and Cowboys definitely have a relationship where they're like, we've done business in the past. We hate each other, but this makes sense for both sides. Let's make that move. So it's one of those things. If the Jets had 3 offers and the Cowboys are one of those, yeah, we may not get first preference in that situation. But if we offer a fourth and everyone else offers a fifth, they're going to take that deal 100%.
Yeah. Like the Cowboys and Raiders. The Cowboys and Raiders have a good relationship trade-wise and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
So go ahead, Simone.
No, I was gonna say, P.O. is spot on with Marrow, the Giants. There's bad blood there. A good buddy of mine, he works right across the street from the NFL office, and there was times when I would meet him for lunch. He would always say, "I just saw Marrow again in Goodell's office," and we can go backwards to the situation where they signed Miles Austin to a contract.
Oh yeah.
Marrow was the one who basically went in there and complained to the commissioner about how the deal fell apart, where the Cowboys had to, split the 10 mil, 5 mil this year and 5 mil next year. Washington also got into it. That was all Marrow. So yeah, there is black blood when it comes to some of the owners, even with agents, and some of the players. I mean, with the owners. And they
I'll say there's more blood. There's definitely more. To me, I would say there's more different pettiness and bad blood between agents and ownership groups than it really is owners and GMs face to face for sure. I'm out there with you, Spoon.
Yeah. But you know what? In this situation, when it comes down to a guy like Denzel Mims and the draft pick, listen, we got to be honest. We talk about the Joneses being petty. I record the conversation me and BJ had, for a couple of hours late at night. And that was between Minka Fitzpatrick and Jamal Adams going to the Cowboys. And when we heard the Cowboys offer Taco Charlton in the deal, yes. Let's be honest. Let's be totally honest. It's like fantasy football. We all play it. When you get that crazy trade, well, I'm gonna give you I'm gonna sign a guy in free agency, and I'm gonna trade him to you to get your best player. Like you're like, are we serious? And
the disrespect decline.
Exactly, it's decline. I can see that. I can see that with not Mims. Oh, come on, 6th round pick. Listen, end of the day, they look at your roster. They understand you need this player. Sometimes you got to bite the bullet. And guess what? If Mims comes to this Cowboys and balls out, you look like a genius giving up a 4th round pick. Because we all know he was a 1st round. He was a 2nd round pick, right? First or early 2nd. All right, so again, you would look like a genius. Stop. You can't always lowball. You can't.
Look, I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it is. He might look. The Jets GM might not feel great about Dallas. He might not. But the Cowboys, he said, "Hey, 4th round pick," and the Cowboys said, "Okay, we'll give you the 4th round pick," he would have been like,
"My mind's telling me no,
but my body,
but my body's telling me yeah."
He would have took the 4th round pick. Is what would have happened. It's exactly what would have happened.
I thought he was a lot. I thought he was a lot 10 for a minute right there. Just getting the groove on. You know what I'm saying? A lot 10. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, he could be mad all he wants to, but he said 4th round pick. The Cowboys said bet. His mind might have been telling him no, but he said 4th round pick. My body is telling me yes.
Yeah, Mims would have been in Dallas by tomorrow morning.
Big shout out to Knicks, by the way, because if I had access to these buttons, they'd be hit all night long. So appreciate Knicks having a little bit more self-discipline. I'd be like, man, it was nonstop. So.
Look, I've been over here looking at him like, let me wait, let me set it up, let me wait. Trust me, I want to. There's a good thing I don't have the bomb yet because I would have hit that a bunch. You know what I mean?
We set one up with a soundboard specifically for Ben DiNucci. And
we did.
When we chatted about him, he didn't hit it. And I was like, "Oh, I wanted to do it for you." So bad.
but he didn't get signed though. But he didn't get. See, look,
we said his name.
That's Ben DiNucci, man. He wants to throw it over. He can throw it over the mountain, man. But yeah, tough times. Oh man. So hey, but real quick though, guys, man. That's kind of the 53-man roster where we're currently sitting. Obviously, the Jason Peters stuff is coming. Fast and Furious tomorrow. We're going to get some news about that and see how that goes. We'll see if the Cowboys keep fishing for wide receiver or not and where they're at. But, for all intents and purposes, man, this is the 22 roster starting. Injuries, things happen during the year. But the start, this is your 22 roster moving forward. And, man, sink your teeth into it. If you don't know him, get to know him a little bit better. I know y'all know him already. And if the Cowboys can just get there a little bit, right, to get this Peters thing done and maybe a wide receiver, overall, I think we feel pretty good, right? I think low-key, from where we started to where we are at, we feel for me personally, getting Peters in here, I'm like, okay, thank God we protect Dak at all costs, right? Yeah. And we feel pretty good about the protection of Dak at that moment. And real quick, as we're wrapping up here, which player, I want to ask the chat this real quick. Which player are you most surprised that they did not bring back in your opinion? Let's get a little chat involved question. And as they are going to answer that, and one more time, which player are you surprised they didn't bring back, chat? Is this right here? My guy Matt Coles is them. What's going on, Matt? Is very simply that our guy the lunatic is giving away. He's donating a couple of hats that we're giving away Wednesday after the Bucks game. So once again, make sure that you are subbed. Y'all that are here. I see some Facebook people. Y'all come over here to this side right here, Pick Six Sports. Sub up over this way. I'll definitely get the pics of the hats out here very quickly tonight. And you can see what we're going to give away. And you actually want to be able to choose a signature he's going to put on there. You want Dak, you get Dak. If you want Parsons, you get Parsons. You want Diggs, whoever you want. He's going to get embroidered right over there on the side. We're going to away 2 of those, not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday after the game. And, of course, wish me well on Friday. Y'all can come through for the Freestyle Friday show, 9:30 p.m. Central. My send-off shows I leave for a week and leave y'all in the capable hands of my compadres. So we came back for one full deck of all of us together. And then I'm like, all right, guys, peace. And I'm gone. But at least we got one. At least
we'll be back for week 1,
Facts. Of course, and we're going to be up there. I'm coming off the boat and I'm shooting straight to Dallas to be there for week 1. Lot 10 in the building. Let's see. Watkins from Todd Curry here. Let's see. Let's get some more answers real quick. Some Story Jackson's in the building. Boom, Story. Kingslayer. We didn't cut Cooper, though. I mean, I feel you, though. Definitely. Oh, there it is. Lunatic said, Victory Wednesday giveaway.
Yeah.
Boom. Speaking into existence, my guy. Talking about the roster cuts that happened to get down to the 53. Right there, Haley. Benvenucci after his performance. I agree, Robert. I thought Nucci game was in the building. He did show a lot of progress this year that we've been waiting for. But as my guy Spoon with that great point earlier tonight said, drafting a quarterback next year for our draft heads and our draft geeks out here like we are, guys start thinking about quarterbacks maybe they might want to bring in here. The Elcon's got up out of here. Oh, our guy, let's go in lot 10. Can't wait.
Woo-hoo.
Hey, I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Yes, and here's that's it. It don't even matter. Forget who said who came and who did.
And
That's right there.
They said that the perfect hashtag did not exist. But our guy, Armchair Champion, was like, hold my beer, I got you. With these 2 simple words combined into one with a number sign in front of it, it's perfection. Thank you.
At the tail end of it, that's it. That's it, man. That is it. So once again, guys, we appreciate you for rocking with us. Friday programming alert, of course. We will do the Cowboys happy hour space starting at 7:30. We will be pivoting over here to 9:30. And of course, we dropped the link the whole 9, man. Y'all can come through, y'all can rock it with us, and video or not, just come on up here, make it do what it do. And we love to interact with y'all on that front as well. And for one time, and it was kind of like Endgame though. We all assembled for one show finally. It finally happened, ladies and gentlemen. And then I'm going to leave. and then I'm leaving. But then the following Wednesday after the game, we'll be right back here in the building for sure. Once again, everybody, go tell a friend. Keep helping us push forward, man. We appreciate all the support, man. We've crossed the 1,000 mark. And, man, every day we're seeing new growth and whatnot, man. And we appreciate that from all of y'all. Last word from you, Mary.
I just want the Cowboys to win games.
Mary, literally, you were literally the epitome of. That's literally. Wait, was this button? Oh, I didn't know what that one was. Sorry. Some reason I was scared to press because I wasn't sure what they were. But with that being said, Professor Ho, last word from you, sir.
I'm gonna give my last word to our guy King Element because he's
this is like so long. I'm never pressing this again.
Yeah,
why is it so long? Okay, there
top,
it's ended now.
Top 3 worst feelings in the world. Number 1, stepping on glass. Number 2, falling in front of your crush. Number 3, getting cut while Josh Ball is still on the roster.
Ooh,
King Element, what a
scene.
terrific comment, by the way. That's fantastic.
It is.
So yeah, I'm excited. I do want to give a quick little plug. Next Wednesday, I just got off the phone with him about an hour ago. One of my good friends. We've worked together for 3 or 4 years now. He is an ESPN game day analyst. He does college football. He's actually doing the Miami game this weekend. His name is Forrest Connolly. He was the starting left tackle for Florida State when they won the national championship with Bobby Bowden back in the Charlie Ward era in the 90s. But he works for ESPN doing college football, and he's a huge Tampa Bay Bucks fan. He's going to be joining our show for about 25 minutes next Wednesday to talk Cowboys Bucks football. So I'm really excited to have him on. And then last shout out to Hop and Sting. They are a local brewery in Dallas, Texas. Check them out. They had a collab with Duke Manyweather called Mastermind IPA, and it was great. So shout out to them.
Okay, so you just sprung that on me, and I'm going to be on a boat in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to pipe in some internet and come through. I don't know how I'll do it, but I'll figure it out. I'll be here. Spoonie, last word for the night, brother. No sermon yet.
I know. I'm keeping it short. No sermon.
We got to keep the sermon for the Wednesday before the game. We got to put it on wraps. I know. I'm disappointing the people with that. I'm sorry, people. Spoonie's got to harness this energy for the Wednesday before.
Game.
We can't waste no energy on this Wednesday. But that Wednesday before the game, guaranteed, the Spoonie sermon is going to be live and direct.
I feel like I gave the sermons today. Like I feel like this is more sermon-y for me than usual. So, yeah.
I just want to say, I was away in DR, great time and everything, and Spoonie could dance. Can I show a couple of things? Sure.
Oh, please show us.
Oh boy, let me get my buzzer ready in case I need a buzz here. Hold on, let me see here.
So there's a couple of videos. My wife is not really a Spanish dancer like I am. I'm half Spanish, half black, from Puerto Rico. So there was a bachata lesson. So I got on the stage, and I was showing people. So
Follow the music.
see, that's me with that cowboy hat on. Excuse me.
Yeah, I see you.
See, I definitely I can move my side to side.
Oh. They keep the camera on you, Spoon. Oh, there he is.
So and then
I didn't mean to hit the button either. Sorry.
And then on top of that, I had to bring some New York flavor to DR because when we got there, it's called the Neon Party where we wear green, blue, things that glow. And I'm watching people just sitting down, just not doing much. So I said, oh, no. That can't happen. So, I had started the train line. Everybody started to follow me with the glow.
Yeah.
That's how I do. You know what I'm saying? I get a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah. There'll be a little Latin action Sunday night.
But Cowboy Nation, my issue is this. When I came back home and I started to read up and catch up on social media, listen, don't listen to them filthy Eagles fans. Don't. I'm not going to put a sermon on here, but don't. And not only that, don't let them get high and mighty by this. See, they become important because you let them talk to you. Ignore them. They don't know about having a roster. Just because they make a trade for a play, that play automatically is a Pro Bowl, All Pro. Chill out with that.
Right.
Understand, we know what we got at home. Yes, we got things to fix. Yes, it's still a process. But understand this. When it comes week 1 on Sunday Night Football, content creators, fans, we know how to light shit up, perform, dominate, and celebrate. That's gonna be it right there. We're gonna let the answers on the field tell us everything was supposed to happen. Not paper. None of that. Chill out with that. Please don't stop. I'm tired of seeing Cowboys and Eagles for what?
Spoonie.
Have they earned to sit next to you?
They
haven't. They don't earn to sit next to you.
Coming up.
If you want to sit next to somebody, sit next to Pick Six. Sit next to CFO. Don't sit next to them. They haven't earned crap. First place teams don't look at the bottom and say, "Come to the table." No, you're sitting with the kids. Understand that? No sermon.
It was definitely a sermon.
That was a low key sermon there. I ain't mad at it, but me and Matt, we got to run. I got to do some things.
Yeah.
With that being said, look, you talk so long, man. It just do something. I can't hang out no more. y'all be safe. Hey, Friday for sure. Come back through and catch us. Of course, next Wednesday there will be an official sermon. Y'all thought that was a sermon? That wasn't even a sermon. Come back next Wednesday. Y'all see a real sermon. So, good luck, Mary. I'll pray for y'all on that end. Peace.